In this tutorial, I'm going to cover the second in-mold detail in bottle 1, which is this oval area in the center that has a concave middle section. Turn that. I'm going to build that surface. So we're going to go back to, I'll go back to my layers, and we're going to go to, I'm on layer 2B, which is this next in-mold detail. So we're going to go back to layer 1. I'm going to bring that up. And if you remember last time, we had this part of the bottle. It's just half of the front half that has that rib in it. So right now it's in three surfaces. I took it apart and took the radius out because I'm going to do all that radiusing at the end. So let's select these 3 surfaces. Again, we go to our move tool, click very quickly so it just moves in place and doesn't change location. And then I'm going to go down to my layer tool, down in the attributes. I am going to make sure I have the layer with the red dot is the one I want to bring this part to. So I'm just going to click. So those parts are now on that layer. I'm going to deselect the layer I took it from. So now I have these parts here. I've already set up the oval. Again, this is kind of arbitrary. This is more of an aesthetic decision. I'm going to unghost this. So I have that right on that back plane. So if we look at it from the front, that's where I want to put that oval. So again, it could be any size I wanted. I could move it around. So I selected to do that there. So you have to remember in this trim split operation, you need to be looking in the correct axes. These need to be lined up. I can't do the trim split action in perspective. It won't go on straight. So we need to do that from the front. And it also helps to see exactly what we're doing. So again, I'm going to go to the trim split tool. We're going to be on line. I'm going to grab just this bottom part. I really don't need the whole part. I just need this bottom part. But I'm going to select the part that I want to keep. And I'm going to use the line to trim away the part that I don't want. Again, I'm doing this on this half of the part and not the entire piece, because I constantly want to make sure things are centered. Sometimes when you do some of these lofting operations, it goes a little wonky, it gets a little crooked and doesn't quite line up. And sometimes you can't tell right away until you really go in and inspect it. And I've gotten myself stuck many times. So I'm constantly trying to break things in half, hang on to centers and make sure things are nice and square. So we are going to do a 3 source loft again. So let's look at this from the right side. Now I'm going to go into line. And you can see I have this line back here that I created last time. I'm just going to use that as a guide because it worked pretty well. So what I'm going to start off doing is just taking a straight line, and I'm going to make a straight line from the top of this to the bottom. That's just a straight edge right there. There's nothing unique about that. But I'm going to insert a point. So if I go to my edit tools and I have insert point, I'm going to click on that line and it's going to snap to the middle. And that's where I want it. I want it in the center. So I'm going to snap. Whoop, didn't do it. There we go. So I'm going to select that point now here. Well, I see that. I'm going to select that. View right side. Let's move it a little. You can see the other line that I created over here. Now I did that just by moving this line. Again, I'm going to move, and I'm snapping horizontal and vertical. I'm just going to click in space here, and let's go straight back. Oh, I'm moving a copy. Don't want a copy. Self. I'm going to move that back to approximately, it was almost to this ISO line right here, because that happened to be nice. So what I did, I did trial and error. I just moved it, clicked on it, looked at it, and said, yeah, that's about right. And then did my loft. So I'm going to have it about there. And then what we're going to do to that is I want to make that a curve. I don't want that to be a hard edge. I'm going to use that as my control. So I'm going to go to my end curves tool and curves create. I have it set on 2. Now it's going to click on this line. It's going to make this nice curve. So that's a nice centered curve. That represents this negative curve area on center. So I am going to select that edge there. So if I mirror that to the other side, I will get a copy of it. I will get the other line that I need to create this loft. So now this loft is connected or will line up perfectly with that front surface. I'm going back to, actually, we have to do this with segment tool because this segment here is part of the surface. So I need to select that as a segment. And the other two are objects, but I can use my segment tool to select them. So now I have all three in order, left to right or right to left is fine. And I'm going to go to my tangent loft. Now I have this nice shape. So this is part of what I want to confirm here. That center line, I want to make sure that that is centered so the part is nice and clean. So let's just come in here. That looks good. So if that wasn't on center and it was a little crooked, what I would do is I would take this center surface and cut it in half and get one half that's great geometry and then just mirror it over so I'd have a center line. That came out quite nice. So I'm going to use that as it is. So now I have that perfectly centered. Now I'm going to bring my other parts over. I could have brought them over first and used that, but like I said, I want to check this geometry as I'm going. So now all I have to do is mirror this over. Oh, I needed a copy. So now I have all these parts. And again, I'm just working on the front half of the bottle. So once all this detailing is done, all I have to do is mirror the entire part around to the other side, and I have my complete shape. So again, just to demonstrate eventually what's going to happen with all these, I'm going to select all of these surfaces and our new little center dome here. And go to stitch. So now this is all one surface, and we can check that with our inspector like we did last time. Let's just radius around. This is individual selection of segments. I can also select this tool, which does a sequence. A little quicker. It selects both of them at the same time. And I'm going to go to round. Last time I did 1/8 inch. I'm going to do a little bit bigger this time, because I think we have some room. And this probably will be where your fingers go in or your thumb. So I'm trying to get that a little softer. So we're going to do that at 1/4 inch. So that radius is quite nicely in there. And since this is a surface, we can see everything from behind. So you see I have this nice center line. I could have continued that center line through the part before I stitched it, but the part looked really clean. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. The next one, we're going to stitch this all together and make one solid bottle out of it. We'll do that in the next tutorial.